There is something about 3 a.m. that makes everything feel permanent, not 11 p.m., not midnight, not even 2 a.m. Those hours still have a kind of dignity to them, a sense that the night is doing what nights are supposed to do. But 3 a.m. is different. 3 a.m. has no mercy. 3 a.m. takes whatever you have been holding together all day, the composure, the I'm fine, the brave face you wore through 8 hours of existing in public, and it pulls the thread, slowly, until everything unravels. And there you are, on the floor, or in the bed, or in the bathroom with the tap running so nobody hears you, crying over someone who may not even know you are awake right now. Here is what nobody tells you about that moment. That moment is not a weakness. That moment is not a breakdown. That moment is the most honest you have been with yourself in weeks. And there is something living inside that 3 a.m. feeling, something underneath the grief and the missing in the "why wasn't I enough?" That, once you see it, is going to change how you understand everything that happened. Stay with this. Because what is coming is not a pep talk. And it is not going to tell you to love yourself first, or that you deserve better, or that time heals everything. That it is going to tell you the truth. You did not end up at 3 a.m. crying over nothing. This is not an overreaction. This is not you being dramatic. This is not you being weak or broken or too much or not enough. This is what it looks like when someone matters. When you let them in, all the way in, to the part of you that you usually keep carefully managed and protected. And then they left that part of you. Or you had to leave. Or it just ended in the way some things end, without a clean reason, without a conversation that made any of it make sense. And now you are here, in the dark, going through the same 3 thoughts on a loop. The first thought, replaying the good parts. The specific, vivid, almost unbearably clear memories. The way they laughed. That one afternoon. The thing they said that time that made you feel more seen than you had felt in years. Your brain is serving these up like a highlight reel on shuffle. And every single clip ends in the same place. The place that hurts. The second thought. The analysis. Going over every conversation, every moment, every text exchange, looking for the exact place it started to go wrong. Looking for the thing you could have done differently. The thing you should have said. The thing you definitely should not have said. Running the calculations over and over as if the right answer is still somewhere in there if you just look hard enough. And the third thought, the one underneath all the others, the one you do not want to say out loud, even alone in the dark at 3 a.m. What if this was the person? What if that was it, and it's gone now, and nothing is going to feel like that again? That thought is the real one. Everything else is just noise around it. You are not crying about the relationship. You are crying about the future you had already built in your head. The one you had been living in quietly, without announcing it to anyone, for weeks or months, or maybe longer. The version of your life where they were in it, and grief for a future that never happened. That is its own specific, particular kind of pain that nobody prepares you for. Because it is invisible. Nobody can see what you lost. You cannot even fully describe it. You just know that something you were holding very carefully has been taken out of your hands. You were not wrong to hold it. You were not foolish for building it. That is what hope looks like. And hope is not a character flaw. But here is where it starts to get complicated. Because most of what you are feeling at 3 a.m. is real. And some of it, the part that is keeping you on the floor instead of letting you rest, is a story. And you need to know which is which. Here is what I got wrong about heartbreak for a long time. The story most people tell themselves, the one that feels like the truest possible thing at 3 a.m., goes like this. Something was taken from me. A person who was supposed to stay left. And the pain I feel is proportional to what I lost. And that story is half true. The pain is real. The loss is real. The missing is real. But here is the part that keeps people stuck on the floor at 3 a.m. for weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years longer than the grief itself actually requires. The story that the pain is about them. It feels like it is about them. Every thought is about them. Every memory involves them. Every question you are asking is about them. Why did they leave? Why weren't you enough? Why did they choose differently? Why did this happen? All of them pointing outward. At the person. At what they did or didn't do. At what you did or didn't do. At the relationship as the source of everything you feel. But here is the uncomfortable thing. The thing that 3 a.m. does not want you to sit with yet, because it is harder than missing someone. The pain is not really about them. Not entirely. Not even mostly. The pain is about what their presence made you feel about yourself. Think about it for a moment. And really think about this. Because this is the thing most people never get to. When you were with them, or when things were good. With them, or even just when the possibility of them existed in your life. Who were you? Not what you were doing. Who were you? There was a version of you that came out around them. A version that was lighter, or more open, or more willing to be seen, or more capable of joy than the version you walk around in on a regular day. They did not create that version of you, but their presence made it easier to access, and what you are actually grieving, underneath the missing and the replaying and the analysis, is that version of yourself. The you that existed in their orbit. The you that felt possible when they were around. That is the loss that 3 a.m. cannot name. That is why the crying does not stop when you try to logic your way through it. Because you are not just grieving a person. You are grieving a self, and nobody, not the breakup advice, not the you deserve better, not the time heals all wounds. Nobody is talking about that part. Most people figure this out too late. They spend months, sometimes years, trying to fill the space where the person used to be. Looking for someone new who will bring that feeling back. Running from the grief instead of going all the way down into it. And the ones who figure it out too late, they do not heal from the relationship. They just carry it into the next one, slightly more defended, slightly more careful, slightly less willing to go all the way in again. That is not healing. That is just armor. By the time this is over, you are going to understand something about tonight that changes what you do with it. Here is the revelation. Not a comfort, not a strategy, a revelation. You are not at 3 a.m. because you loved someone and lost them. You are at 3 a.m. because loving them showed you something about yourself that you did not know was possible, and now you are terrified that it only existed because of them. Read that again. You got a glimpse of the version of you that is capable of that kind of feeling, that kind of openness, that kind of willingness to be fully present with another person. That version showed up, and now you are mourning it, assuming it left when they left. But here is what that version of you actually is. It is not something they gave you. It is something they revealed, the capacity for that feeling, the aliveness, the openness, the depth of connection you felt. That was never theirs. It was always yours. It came from inside you. They just created the conditions where you were willing to let it out. And here is what that means, specifically, for tonight. The thing you are most afraid of losing, the feeling that made this person feel irreplaceable, is not gone. It did not leave with them. You cannot lose it the way you lose a person, because it is not a thing that belongs to someone else. It is a thing that belongs to you. You have just forgotten that. Because grief is excellent at convincing you that what you feel in the dark is permanent, that the version of you that showed up in that relationship was a one-time thing, a lucky accident, dependent on the specific person, the specific chemistry, the specific unrepeatable circumstances. That is not true. And somewhere underneath the 3 a.m. spiral, you already know it is not true. Think about every person who has ever loved and lost and gone on to love again. Not just tolerated a new relationship, but genuinely, fully, unexpectedly loved. Again, they did not find someone who replaced the previous person. They found someone who created new conditions for the same capacity to open up. The capacity was always theirs. It always will be. Now, here is the harder part. The part that actually requires something from you tonight, in this exact moment, instead of sometime later when you feel better. The reason most people stay on the floor at 3 a.m. longer than they need to is not because the grief is too big. It is because they are using the grief to avoid a question they do not want to answer. The question is this: who are you when no one is watching? Not the version you showed them. Not the version you perform at work or at family dinners or on the days when you have somewhere to be. The actual you. The one sitting in the dark right now with the tap running. Are you someone you would choose to spend time with? Are you someone whose own company you can tolerate, not just endure, but genuinely inhabit, without the noise of another person filling the space? This is the question the relationship was quietly helping you avoid. Not because they were avoiding it intentionally, just because their presence made it unnecessary. When someone else is there, you do not have to be fully present with yourself. There is always something to respond to, someone to orient toward, a direction that is not inward. And now the inward direction is the only one available. And it is terrifying, not because there is something wrong with what is in there, but because you have not visited in a while. Here is the truth about 3 a.m. that nobody says directly. Crying is not the problem. The crying is the beginning of something. It is the moment when everything you have been managing and maintaining and holding together finally gets to put itself down. And things that have been held too tightly for too long, when they finally get to rest, they do not rest quietly. You are not falling apart. You are arriving somewhere. The version of you that is sitting in the dark right now, unguarded, undone, without the performance or the composure or the careful management of how you appear. That version is the most real version of you that exists. And that version, the raw, exhausted, 3 a.m. version, is not broken. It is the beginning of whatever comes next, not a new relationship, not a new chapter with the same person. Something quieter than that. Something that starts in the dark before it can exist in the light. The relationship showed you what you are capable of feeling. Now the question, the one that is going to follow you out of tonight and into everything that comes after, is whether you can feel that way about the person you are when no one else is in the room. Because that is the work. Not getting over them. Not replacing what you lost. Not rebuilding your walls so nothing can get through next time. The work is getting all the way back to yourself. Fully. Without apology. Without performing wholeness you don't feel yet. And that work starts here. Tonight. In the dark. With nobody watching. The sun is going to come up. Not as a metaphor. Not as a comfort. Just as a fact. In a few hours, the light is going to change, and the quality of the dark that is sitting on you right now is going to shift. It will not be fixed. The grief will still be there. But it will be daytime grief, which is a different animal entirely. What you do with tonight matters. Not what you decide. Not what you plan. Not what you figure out or resolve or commit to. None of that is available at 3 a.m., and that is fine. Those things belong to the daylight. What matters right now is one thing. Let yourself feel exactly what you are feeling. All the way, without trying to manage it towards something more functional, without talking yourself out of the specific memories your brain keeps returning to, without checking your phone one more time to see if they reached out. Just be here, in the dark, with the fullness of everything you feel, not because it will pass faster, it might not, but because the only way out of grief is through it. And most people spend years trying to go around it, which means they just carry it forward, unchanged, into everything that comes after. You are allowed to be undone tonight. Fully. Without a plan for how to put yourself back together by morning. And tomorrow. Not when you feel better. Not when you have it figured out. Just tomorrow. Ask yourself one question. The question that came up in the middle of all of this. The one about who you are when no one else is in the room. Sit with that question. Not to answer it immediately. Just to stop running from it. Because the answer to that question is where you actually go from here. Not away from the pain. Not towards someone new. Back to yourself. All the way back. If tonight brought you to this video, there are more conversations on this channel that go to the places most people are afraid to go. The next one is waiting when you are ready. You do not have to be ready tonight. Subscribe, because every week this channel goes somewhere real. This content is for educational and informational purposes only. If you are struggling with your mental health or emotional well-being, please reach out to a licensed therapist or counselor. You do not have to sit in the dark alone.